A happy Friday to everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Hope you're all getting set to have an awesome weekend. Coming up here on the show, should the 49ers sign defensive tackle Christian Wilkins, who was released by the Raiders yesterday in a very controversial situation? The Niners viewed as a destination that makes sense for one of the top defensive tackles in the game when healthy. But his health is a huge concern. Wide receiver Gabe Davis, who used to be a go-to option for Josh Allen, wants to play for the 49ers. He said that on the Kay Adams show. This position on defense is wide open as far as the competition goes, according to defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. And Brock Purdy missed practice today on this Friday, July 25th. Any concerns with that? We'll talk about that just around the corner. Technically off today, that's why I'm not in the Chat Sports studios. But look, we can't take any breaks during a time like this. We got to talk some Niners here, which is why you should subscribe to the channel. We're at 163,581 subs. I have you covered with Niners coverage daily here on the channel. Regardless of where I am, I'm always going to provide you with some fantastic content. And it's training camp across the National Football League. All 32 teams are practicing. It's also training camp for your boy. This is what I've been up to outside of talking Niners. I'm competing in a High Rocks competition in November, so my training started last week. I'm 17 weeks out, and we're working, man. Gonna improve the form on some of these moves over time, but if you're not familiar with what High Rocks is, it's a global indoor fitness competition that combines running and functional exercises designed to test strength, endurance, and overall fitness. And so it consists of 8 1-kilometer runs. It's about 0.6 miles. Each are followed by a functional workout station repeated 8 times in this order. You do the ski erg, which is that skiing motion that I'm doing here, a sled push, a sled pull, burpee broad jumps, rowing, a farmer's carry, sandbag lunges, and some wall balls. So I have been very into fitness the last several years, but really ramping it up to another level. If you have any tips, if you're into CrossFit, which is something similar, or you've done High Rocks before, drop me a comment down below. I'm always open ears and willing to take some pointers from some people who are fitness junkies. Let's begin here. Niners quarterback Brock Purdy, who was sensational on Thursday in practice, did not practice today. Oh my gosh, Chase, is he injured? Should I be worried? No, you shouldn't be. He did not participate in practice today because of a personal matter. Of note, the Niners are not going to practice on Saturday. That is the off day for San Francisco. So whatever Purdy had to tend to, he has today, tomorrow, and if he has to tend to it beyond the next 2 days, he can certainly do that. Mac Jones got the quarterback 1 reps today, and then Tanner Mordecai was QB2, both of those quarterbacks, able to get a lot of good work in. And Mac Jones on Thursday was really, really strong in the practice session. The highlight, a deep ball from Mac Jones to Isaiah Neyor, 50 yards downfield in triple coverage. Neyor, 6'4", 220, ran a 4.4 flat 40-yard dash at that size in the pre-draft process. He played at Wyoming, then Texas, then Nebraska, only had 2 college seasons of 10-plus catches. But in the spring, he turned some heads. So far in training camp, he's been the talk of training camp because of the long ball from Mac Jones to Isaiah Neyor. And he is so long, as you can see here, with such long legs and arms, a big catch radius, and pretty notable, he was running with the twos, and Kyle Shanahan called the deep shot, and Neyor able to make a huge play. So Purdy so far in training camp, 20 of 24. It's been very accurate. Yesterday he was decisive, surveying the field. He has thrown 2 interceptions, but he's never been a phenomenal practice player, and he uses these practices to gauge what he can do in games as far as fitting a ball in a tight window or trying to make a throw from one hash, the opposite hash, to the opposite sideline. And so I'm not overly concerned about the picks that Brock Purdy has thrown because he opened up training camp with the deep shot to George Kittle, dime ball. Yesterday threw a back-footed ball to George Kittle. And with Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams out there yesterday, he looked like the 2023 Brock Purdy, but did not practice today because of that personal matter. All right, one of the big topics of this show. Should the Niners sign Christian Wilkins, who was let go and released in a stunning move by the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday? Got to give a shout out to my coworker Mitchell Renz, the host of the Raiders Report. He reported a month ago that the Raiders wanted Christian Wilkins to get another surgery on his ailing Jones fracture, but Christian Wilkins and his camp disagreed with the Raiders medical staff. Wilkins wanted to play through the pain because if he got that surgery, he would have to miss all of 2025. And so far, he is elected to go against that Raiders medical staff and against opting in for another surgery. And because Wilkins and the Raiders have been clashing on this medical situation, the Raiders said, you know what? We're just going to release you. And this is a move that shocked a lot of people across the NFL because he signed last March a 4-year, $110 million contract with $57.5 million in guaranteed money. Made him one of the highest paid defensive tackles in football. And then he suffered that Jones fracture in his left foot during a Week 5 game of the 2024 season against the Denver Broncos. So he only played 5 games, underwent surgery, but his recovery has had and seen so many setbacks. And then he had to go in a walking boot again in 2025. And so the Raiders placed him on PUP, the physically unable to perform list, before training camp, and head coach Pete Carroll, taking the reins from Antonio Pierce, what a coaching upgrade there, described Wilkins' rehab as, quote, challenging with an uncertain return timeline. The Raiders voided $35.2 million in remaining guaranteed money, citing those disagreements that my coworker, Mitchell Renz, had reported on over a month ago, and they cited these disagreements over Wilkins' rehab approach, specifically his refusal to undergo a second surgery recommended by the team. So Wilkins filed a grievance with the NFL Players Association. They're in hot water. The top 2 head honchos just resigned a few days ago. And Wilkins is probably going to take the Raiders to court. There's going to be a lawsuit here. He earned $49.7 million for the 5 games that he played with the Raiders, including a $24 million signing bonus and a restructured $20.5 million roster bonus. This is a player who, when healthy, is really good. Former first-round pick by the Miami Dolphins in 2019, had a breakout 2023 season with 9 sacks. He's really good against the run. The Niners are very unproven at defensive tackle right now. They have one of the thinnest groups at defensive tackle in the NFL. Their huge focus all offseason has been to improve their rushing defense. Alfred Collins, C.J. West, drafted by the Niners. Collins in the second round, C.J. West in the fourth. They have a history of being good against the run. At edge rusher, Mykel Williams has a history of being good against the run. Christian Wilkins would help the Niners there. Career stats include 372 tackles, 22.5 sacks, 56 quarterback hits over 86 games. But his release and the continuous ongoing foot injury raises concerns about his NFL future. Valuable player when healthy, though. Right now, I don't think he's healthy. And this grievance process may involve a hearing, and that'll determine if Christian Wilkins can recover some of the voided guarantees. But this is an interesting conversation to have for San Francisco because of the aforementioned concerns and uncertainties at defensive tackle. ESPN the other day called the Niners defensive tackle position the worst in the NFL. Mike Clay saying, quote, the Niners defensive tackle situation might be the worst in the league. Malik Collins, Javon Hargrave signed elsewhere. The team's only impact additions were draft picks, Alfred Collins and C.J. West. Jordan Elliott is a rotational player. He's atop the depth chart. Competitors Kevin Givens, Evan Anderson, Kalia Davis all played less than 30% of the team's defensive snaps last year. The Niners figured to add more help or move Yetur Gross-Matos and Sam Okawanu inside more often. What ESPN didn't mention is that Mykel Williams is capable of doing that too. And a lot of fans have reached out to me. Chase, should the Niners sign him? This Jones fracture, especially for a guy who's well over 300 pounds, it's serious. And I know the Raiders are a dysfunctional organization, but look, their medical staff is always going to look out for players, for the most part. If anything, they'll try to rush players to play so that they can contribute. But they wanted Christian Wilkins to get this surgery. And so this is a huge red flag for me. I'm not going this direction, even though I think the Niners could really use more help at defensive tackle. You'd be adding another injured player to an already banged-up football team with a history that is concerning with injuries. Wilkins might be a star when healthy, but are you getting a healthy player? The medicals here are going to be fascinating. And the team's feedback and other teams' feedback compared to the Raiders is going to be very fascinating as well. But the 49ers were the most injured team in the NFL last year. And Kyle Shanahan's teams have rarely been healthy. 2024, number one most injured team. 2023, 29th most injured team. One of the most healthy teams in football. What do you know? They made it to the Super Bowl. 2022, ninth most injured. 2021, third most injured. 2020, number one most injured. Even when they made it to the Super Bowl in 2019, number 6 most injured team in football. 2018, number 4 most injured team. I just can't go this direction. The Niners are trying to get healthier, get younger, add some youth juice to this roster. And this Christian Wilkins injury, he might not be healthy at all. And if he has to undergo surgery, he'd be out all year. He could try to play through the pain, but what if he comes up hobbling? Out for the year. Waste of a move. As for Gabe Davis, he has 29 career touchdowns. Great weapon for Josh Allen, especially in the playoffs, before getting a bag going into 2024 from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They let him go because of concerns about a knee injury. I believe it was a meniscus or MCL for Gabe Davis. So he got hurt, then he was released by Jacksonville. And he said on the Kay Adams show, he'd be down to play for the Niners. Quote, I went on a visit there. It was awesome. I have a lot of teammates from Central Florida and previous players like Mac Jones, Isaiah Hodgins that were there. So definitely a team that I'm interested in for sure. San Francisco is a nice spot. He said San Fran. What I have found out, people from the Bay Area hate when people say San Fran. Gabe Davis said San Fran. Roast him, not me. He said it's a great team with great players. I talked to Christian McCaffrey. I met with George Kittle. I talked to a lot of people out there, and it's awesome. San Fran, he said, not his words, not mine, is definitely a spot that I'm looking at. Shanahan's the man. He knows how to call an offense, right? And they just have a lot of great weapons out there. Gabe Davis, when healthy, is a really good number 2, number 3 wide receiver. He's big. He can run for his size. He comes down with contested catches. He has been one of the top producers as far as yards per catch in the NFL. He has scored a lot of touchdowns. He has big-time, big-game experience coming through in some massive moments for Buffalo. He is a willing run blocker. He can play on the outside and win on the outside. But like the case is with Christian Wilkins, this is going to come down to the medicals. The 49ers have signed 2 wide receivers this week, Equinemius St. Brown and Quintez Cephas. They are not close to the player who Gabe Davis is. But to me, the Niners signing those 2 players over Gabe Davis tells you all you need to know. They must be worried about the medicals. And if they're not worried about the medicals, are they worried about his price tag? I don't think Gabe Davis has a lot of leverage here. The Jags let him go because of a failed physical, because of concerns with the knee injury. And the Niners must be concerned about the knee injury too. Now, have they just signed Equinemius St. Brown and Quintez Cephas just to be members of the 90-man roster because they have concerns at wide receiver? I don't know. They have 14 receivers on the 90-man. So them signing those 2 players over Gabe Davis tells me they're not interested in Gabe Davis, or they're concerned about the medical assessment for Gabe Davis. Or are they just saying, look, if we sign him, he has to make the roster. And we signed Equinemius St. Brown and Quintez Cephas just to be camp bodies. So Gabe Davis might want to play for the Niners, but he visited San Francisco and he left without a deal. And it doesn't seem like the Niners are interested in Gabe Davis as much as he's interested in them. Let's round out with this. Robert Saleh said the safety competition is wide open. Direct quote, it's wide open. JP, Jason Pinnock coming in. Richie Grant, Marquis Siegel being a rookie. Obviously Jair Brown, Malik Mustafa. Then there's some young guys back there that are fresh. Jalen Mahoney, cornerback Derek Canteen, cornerback Saron Neal. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but it is a wide open competition at safety at both spots. This situation, worth watching, worth following, worth monitoring. And I'm always down for an exciting training camp battle, but I'm also concerned about the secondary. It is a patchwork secondary right now that is a huge work in progress. And if this secondary isn't good, it could be a long year for this defense if this pass rush can't generate pressure on the quarterback. You have Jair Brown, a former third-round pick. That draft class is looking to be a disaster. It would be great for him to work out. Like the player at Penn State, I think he has the inside track to start there alongside Jason Pinnock in week 1. But if he loses that job, that's a bad sign. As a rookie, played well. Year 2, he struggled. Jason Pinnock is long, athletic, but he's not good in coverage, and he's at his best going downhill when he's around the line of scrimmage. Not a coverage guy. Malik Mustafa is going to start. He's a thumper. Last year as a rookie, he was really good, but he's probably going to start the year on PUP because of that ACL surgery this offseason. And so that last line of defense for this Niners defense, that third level, it's going to be an exciting safety competition, but are there good players there? That remains to be seen. But Robert Saleh leaving the door open for anybody to start at safety. All right, that does it for another edition of the 49ers Report. Thank you so much for tuning in. More coverage to come throughout the weekend. Niners have an off day tomorrow, but I'm joining Larry Krueger on the Krug Show. That's going to be, what time did he say? Do I have my phone here? I think he said 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon Eastern. So tap into the Krug Show Saturday morning. We're going to talk all things training camp. He's been at practice every single day, so can't wait to get his insight. And then coverage. Going to continue to be out here on the Niners Report because this is what we do. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Enjoy your Friday. Have a great weekend. We'll talk soon. Peace.